Hey guys, Matt and Josh with BleepinJeep. It was at this point we knew we screwed up. Hey guys, we are still in the middle of building the Holy Grail XJ. Let me take you on a little walk around of what we did in the last video. So we got the front axle mounted. We stole it off of that Toyota over there. And it's a Dana 60 front, 42-inch Super Swampers on beadlock wheels. And if you remember, we got a steel on that Toyota, and we're gonna be stealing parts off of it as well. So we reused the same leaf springs. It's got full hydro steering. We reused the shackles. We pretty much reused everything. So we've got everything mounted up, tacked up. We're not gonna weld it just yet in case we need to make any major changes. But so far, it's looking really good. The springs are a little stiffer than I had expected. I thought off of a Toyota, it was gonna be pretty flexy, but if you go back and watch that video of us wheeling the Toyota, if you look carefully, you'll notice that the front end stayed with the axle. It didn't really flex a lot. I thought that was going to change a lot with the engine that's in here because it's so heavy, the 12 valve is. We'll see, we'll play around with the leaf springs. Check out these. They were pretty cool. They needed a little bit of cleaning up, so we cleaned those up. Josh cleaned them up. I put some cleaner welds on there, and they need painted yet, but we got new bushings in here, and so that's looking good. That's going to allow it to come back a little bit and flex out, hopefully, when the axle drops out. We've got the body mounts. We've got 6 of them in total, so 3 on this side, 1, 2, 3, and 3 on the other side. So this thing is sitting now in the proper position where it's going to be. You can see that we modified the frame right here. We chopped about 18 inches out of it, I'd say, shrunk it, and then now we're going to cut the back off. We actually moved the engine back as well, about 18 inches too. Is the hood open still?
Probably.
Oh yeah. So I was wondering, oh gosh, there's no stop on there. I took the stop off. I was wondering if the diesel was going to fit in there without coming out of the hood, and it does, which I kind of wanted it to come out of the hood.
Cummins out of the hood.
Cummins out of the hood. Yeah, we're going to have a special radiator, not a special radiator, but we're going to have to steal one off of a YJ or something, because the way the frame sits now, we had to modify things, and we won't be able to fit the Jag or the Dodge radiator where it should be. If you look on this side, we've been making some marks. Why did you do that?
Because isn't that what all the fancy cars are doing now? Eyelashes?
We are definitely going to have to cut some of this fender out. So we moved the front axle forward probably about 1 foot from where the Jag axle would be. Because of that, we're going to have to cut out this area quite a bit to clearance for the travel on this tire. Hopefully though, we don't have to clearance back here, because if we do, that's a major nightmare, because that's where our feet go.
We could just bump stop it right there.
We're definitely going to have to do some bump stops. Yeah. You can see we've been playing around with bump stops. And if you look at my Comanche, it's pretty much only got what looks like 1 inch of up travel, but in reality, the rubber really compresses. I mean, you can't compress it with your hand, but when you get a few thousand pounds on there, it does compress a lot. Anyway, what we're going to do today, we're going to, look how silly this looks. What we're going to do today is we're going to cut the back half of the frame off, and then we're going to steal parts off of that Toyota and put them over here. It's got a double triangulated 4-link that we're going to use, and we're going to use the axle and of course the tires and wheels. What we need to do though is to get it right about there. Not going to be there, it's going to be here.
You're going to put us close to 140-inch wheelbase.
Close to 140-inch wheelbase. That's why I said at the beginning, we messed up. Trying to make a 4-door car into a rock crawler, I didn't realize how long this thing is, but it's almost like a classic car. It's really long and big. But that's part of the reason why we're cutting it here. I was doing that to make it shorter, but it's still long. Still very, very, very long. Imagine if we had to try to fit a 42-inch tire into this wheel well and keep the trunk.
And keep the trunk?
Yeah.
You'd be basically cutting like I did Bumble. Just cutting all that out.
You wouldn't be able to use the door.
Well, I cut my door.
You can't cut it much.
Yeah, you couldn't cut it much.
All right.
Hot mess, Holy Grail.
Hot mess, Holy Grail. You ready to get started?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Okay. What the heck was that?
You're good. Whoa. Axle up. Mission accomplished. Now, gotta get the axle out of this. Slightly more complicated.
Got some back.
All right.
All right. Just like on the front axle, I'm gonna take some measurements, and those might come in handy later on to figure out like where things were set up, because whoever built this obviously took a lot of time and figured out what's gonna work. So we want to write down things like the distance between the upper and lower arms, because we know that they clearance right now. I'm gonna maybe take the measurement of this bolt to the ground. Just get some basic measurements that might help me when we start moving things over there. 32 inches, 5.5 inches. We've got 14.7 degrees. You dealing with some rust issues over here?
Yeah, quite a bit of rust issues.
You need an impact on there.
Uh-huh, I do.
14.7, that's exactly what the arm's at. So I guess that makes sense. Maybe this just says 14.7 for everything. Huh? That's at 12.2. All right, guys, now it's time to chop this thing up once again. Right here, I think, is where we're gonna chop it. You can see that this is where the body kind of curves up right here. I would chop it there, but this thing has been welded in, this plate here. So one of the things that we've been dealing with, which was a struggle, was this needed to be pulled back in. So when we cut some of this stuff out of the frame started moving. And when we went to go put this back in a minute ago, this cross member, it was out of whack. And that's because some of these cross members are just sitting here. So before I go and cut that, what I want to do is pull this cross member off. And we're going to use that as the very back cross member. We're going to move it up to here and weld it in place before we chop it right here. So the easiest way that we found to get rid of these rivets is with the plasma torch, just cutting the heads off of those. You can also use an angle grinder or a cutoff wheel, but this just makes real quick work of it. So what I'm using there is a gouging tip. It's a little bit different than a cutting tip. Basically like a little lightsaber that just, you can cut anything you want with it, but it's not a perfect cut. It's more like a spoon. So just spoon out the material as you go. Once you get those heads cut off, you just take a punch and hammer those out. All right, let's see if this will come out. Now I'm hoping this will go right up in here somewhere, like that, and then we're gonna weld that in so it kind of holds everything together before we chop this frame right here. And then we're gonna have to rebuild all of this back end. You know what? That side's got a big old gap on it. Oh. Maybe we should have pounded it in a little better. cut it back off. I think I'm gonna cut right through those 2 holes. Do you have the 2 holes over there?
I do.
Yeah, I think your eyeballs are crooked.
No.
Josh,
Those holes aren't level.
your eyeballs are really crooked. The holes are absolutely level.
No kidding. Is the frame's not level?
The frame's level. I just checked it.
Oh, that's...
I don't know which one to follow.
The level one.
The level one?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll cut one of those lines.
When you stand back and look at it, you can really see it.
In the last video, we cut the top and then we ended on the bottom, and people were a little upset with that. That was the wrong way to do it.
Yeah, it's terrible. How could we?
How could we do that? Okay, are you ready? Hello? Hold on, hold on. That's hot. All right, what are we doing with this? Let's see how heavy it is. Can we? Oh, it's pretty heavy. There we go. We'll just cut the back half off of the Toyota. We'll just weld it on there. So if you guys are wondering what in the world we're doing back here, so are we. But no, I'm just joking. Let me show you. All right, so this is the Comanche. It's a truggy, and basically what that means is you've got the cab, and then the whole back half is gone, and it's custom made with these tubes. So we're gonna do basically the same thing on the Jag back there.
So the Jaguar's not a truck, so is that a cuggy? A juggy?
You see this? This is called a ladder bar. They call it a ladder bar, right? Or a ladder frame. But we're gonna make a ladder frame off the back. We need 2 tubes to make them strong enough, and then we have basically a ladder in between. All that gets welded to the back of the truck. So what we need to do though is make some sort of a thick steel plate to weld those 2, and we need it to be strong enough not to break in half. And then we're gonna have to have 2 tubes that come out and form the rest of the frame. And the reason that you do that is so that you can come up higher, much higher than the frame. The frame is down here, about where the axle is at. With the truggy, you can bring that frame out and come up, way up, mount your shocks up here, and you have a lot of travel, a lot of up travel, and you can customize things a lot better than you could if you had a frame way really low here. From the height difference from top to bottom there. So that adds to the strength, that height difference. And if we can't get that height difference, it's not gonna be too strong unless we can tie it in somewhere else with a roll cage or something. So this is a little different though, because the car is on body mounts. It's not a uniframe like we have over there, and I'm used to building uniframes. So we can't really attach anything to the car because it's moved separately from the frame. So all that strength has to come from just like 4 inches here. So we got to figure out how to make that stronger. I think what we could do is set the car back down and see how much height we have. And if we don't have enough height here, we'll build down. On the Comanche, that top tube comes in through the frame and goes all the way up underneath the seat. And then that's tied in as well to the frame, so that you have, not only is everything just welded to the back here, it ties way up as far as we can get it forward. That way it doesn't just snap in half right here. All right, now that everybody's more confused than ever, we're gonna clean this area up. We're gonna roll that axle over here, mock that up where that goes, because that'll play into all this as well. So, we're moving on over here to the Toyota. We're gonna pull the rear axle now and just slide it right over here. Then we'll have to pull this suspension as well, because we plan on using these, the upper and lower control arms, double triangulated 4-link thingamabobber that's going on here. And what did you say a second ago?
We're just taking the axle because it's easier to move a stick than a spider.
Yeah, probably so. All right. Whoa, the whole thing just came down.
Oh, there's what happened. Yeah, it fell onto the backup.
I'm glad you had a backup. So much for your Facebook jack stand idea.
The jack stayed in place. The wood block did not. This jack leaks down too. All right, now that has a backup.
The backup has been re-backed up?
Yes.
Go. Now we have to avoid all of the hardware that fell off in the process. Look at that, guys. Perfect. Now we just need some noodles from here to here, about 4 of them, and then 1 noodle up the center to there, and we'll be good to go, right?
Start noodling.
You know what would be great is if that just lined up. But it doesn't. Not even close. All right, check it out. We put the tires on the back. This pole is always in my way. So we've got it sitting about how it's gonna sit, give or take an inch or 2. So this is where we plan on cutting, right here. And then we'll put a truck bed out back. But we wanna make sure that when this comes up, it doesn't hit the body. So that's going to be about where it's going to sit. We're going to have to make some modifications to the frame here to stiffen things up, like I told you, and that is the little template that I've come up with real quick. But let's measure the wheelbase to see how long.
Looks like a school bus.
Let me take you guys back here again.
Get clear back there so you can get it all in frame.
It's a monster truck. I got to get all the way in the corner of the shop back here to see the whole thing. Okay, going to the far edge of the wheel.
Far edge of the wheel.
Okay, what do you got?
I've got 140 3/4.
140 3/4. So we already measured the other side, and
okay.
it's longer.
I was splitting the difference between this side and what we measured on the other side. It's 140 on this side.
140, so there's almost 2 inches.
An inch and a half of difference.
Almost 2 inches of difference. We got to square up that rear axle. Oh, there you guys are. We got to square up that rear axle, but I'm excited at this point. It's getting close. We're almost done.
Almost done.
We'll be able to drive it here pretty soon. So these are the upper and lower arms off of that Toyota, and we're gonna bolt those back up and see where they end up here. And then we're gonna have to make some sort of a brace, some sort of mounts to hold all this together. Look at that, that looks so cool.
This is gonna be the awesomest overlander ever.
Yes, they said it was gonna be overlanding, and then they changed it and said, oh, we're doing some serious rock crawling trails, and you don't have to drive it, you can trailer it. So that changed everything. We have to spend a whole night out of this thing, Ian said, and we're not gonna have the accoutrements that we need. 1 whole night. I think we'll be okay. If you look at this Toyota, it's already set up perfectly. They built this really cool truss that would take a long time to rebuild, so we're kind of leaning towards cutting that out of there, although we basically have to cut this whole thing into pieces to get the cab off to even attempt to pull that. So I don't know if it's worth it or not. But if we have to make it from scratch, it needs to look basically just like that. And that is exactly what we need. And then the upper arms mount just on the sides, on the frame rail, but those lower arms, they kind of go towards the center, so we have to have them just outside of the drive shaft. What do you think? Should we try to cut that out of there, or should we attempt to build our own?
It'd probably be easier to cut that out of there, even if we have to loosen the body mounts up and lift the cab up a couple inches. Did you hear that?
The lunch lady's here. The lunch lady. Honey, We caught you.
Hi. You caught me?
We caught you.
Oh, I'm being so bad.
We're having cookies for lunch today.
That's it. That's all.
Look at that.
Today it was Brussels sprouts and taters.
Wait. You got it talking into the...
Days, Brussels sprouts and taters and turkey.
Oh. It's like Thanksgiving.
I mean, obviously, that's what we're going for, right?
Delicious.
Delicious.
Do you like turkey?
I like turkey. I'm gonna need a nap.
You're in luck. Okay, back from lunch. If you remember, Josh said that we could just lift the cab up and get to cutting. There's an issue with that, and that is there's 1,000 tubes over. So we went and started counting how many tubes we'd have to cut this cage off, and we counted 20. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 around the front, and double that. So that's 20 tubes. What do you have to say about that?
Have Sawzall, we'll cut.
There's got to be another way. What if we flipped it upside down?
I don't think that helps us all that much.
We could come in with the tractor, take it outside, roll it upside down, and then just cut it once.
You could roll it upside down outside, it wouldn't hurt a thing.
No, it's got a nice cage on it. I mean, it's 1,000 tubes, but they make everything real stiff. As Josh was mentioning, the frame has no flex in it whatsoever.
Yeah, so it's sitting on that jack stand. This does nothing. Nothing.
Don't flip it over right here. And Josh is using the Facebook jack stand technique right there. A stand for your jack.
Yep, according to Facebook, this is what a jack stand was invented for.
I highly doubt that. But if you have references, please let us know.
Yes.
We could get a Sawzall with a really long blade and just sit under there for an hour and a half.
In reality, it would take probably less time to do that. You could get a lot of it with the plasma, because that's all open.
All right, we're gonna investigate and we'll be right back. All right, we did some measuring, we did some thinking, we did some belly button contemplating. And we think the fastest way, cheapest way to make this work is to take this cross member that's already done, already built, already set up correctly, and to try to cut it out. We could buy some tube, we could bend the tube, we could make some ladder bar, cross member frame thing over there. It just would take a lot of time. This is going to take a lot of time too, but probably a lot less time. Plus it saves us a lot in our budget, so what do you think?
That's it, it's the budget.
It's going to suck for whoever buys this thing next because there won't be anything to attach to. I think the thought is to lift this cab as high as it'll go until it starts pressing on those tubes on the top just to get some clearance. We also probably ought to consider the gas tank and fuel lines are running right through there.
There's a really good chance that dirt's flammable.
Flammable dirt?
Yeah.
I'm burning my hair. I can smell hair on fire. I think it's going further in. Maybe this was a bad idea. think it's free. It's just sitting on the exhaust.
Yep. So much dirt went up my shorts.
I'm glad it didn't catch you on the sharp end on your knee there.
Yeah.
All right, well that was fun. Check this out, guys. This is what we were after right there. That'll make this build go together much quicker than having to do all that from scratch. And cheaper, much cheaper too. Oh, ow. All right, guys, I got a little piece of wire here. Instead of taking the vehicle on and off over and over again, I want to try to make a little template here of where we have clearance. So I'm going to push this up in here, like so, and we're just going to make a template of what the underside of this car looks like. I'll work with that a little bit more, but then I'm going to tack that. I'm going to tack it onto the frame rails so that when we lift this car up, I'll kind of know the shape of the car and know where I'll need to clearance things. When I built the FC, I didn't have a lift, so every time I wanted to go up, it was four ratchet straps. This one, that one, that one, that one, and it would just go like this for about 10 minutes until I finally got it up. Alright, I think our template there is going to help. Alright guys, let me show you what we've been up to. I made this template. It's going to go right about here. This is going to extend the frame out just a little bit in the proper direction that we want, but also it's going to beef up this rear end. So we're going to have one on either side. We're going to box this frame in to the back of this. So right here, we're going to mount the upper triangulated forelink. On the inside, it's going to give us a place to weld that cross member that we cut off of the Toyota. And then it's also going to have a spot right here for the tubes to continue along their path for the rear frame, basically. And that's going to kick up higher so that we have a lot of clearance for the axle, but it's also going to act as the bed for the pickup truck and the place to mount stuff like fuel cell and all of our goodies back there. What we did then was we took that template, I marked it out on steel, cut it out, and so now we need to weld this here, one on the other side. So there's 4 of these. Once we get those tacked in place, we'll make some little plates to box that in, and we'll get it all welded up. Right?
Right.
You didn't add much.
No.
Man, that's gonna look so good. All right, any last words before I make this permanent?
Yeah, burn her in.
Burn her in, here we go. Wait! All right, since this frame has holes all in it, what I'm gonna do is come around to the back side before we box this in and weld up all these holes. That's going to make things stronger. Eventually, if we don't use any of these holes, I'm going to come in and weld up all these holes, because everywhere there's a hole, especially when there's 2 in a line, that makes the frame weaker and it could just fold right there. I sure hope we did this right. There's no going back now.
Nope.
All right, look at that. We got most of that taken care of. That looks cool with the copper on there. Maybe we should do the whole frame in copper.
Copper.
Plugged up a lot of holes. I left one hole in there so that it could drain. This piece, outside piece, is just tacked on right now, so we're gonna add the inside pieces, tack those on, make sure everything is looking good. This is gonna be amazing. What do you think? Amazing?
Amazing.
All right, guys, check this out. This, obviously, this is gonna get bent to make a nice little curve to it, and that is going to be the top of our frames. The idea is that this tube goes through way up there and gets welded into place, and that way it can't just snap in half right here. You got a lot of strength here, and all that is going up to support not only the bed, but the suspension in the back. So the coilovers in the back are gonna get mounted to these two tubes that are gonna come out of here. But these two tubes are gonna go through here, or at least the top one is gonna go through closer to the front, and then the bottom will get welded to this plate right here. That's why we did this the way we did, and it's gonna turn out fantastic. We did it! After fighting with that for about 20 minutes, we finally got both bolts through, but now we have to lift it up through this hole. There we go, that wasn't as bad as I expected.
Broken jack stand.
Is that one of them Harbor Freight ones, the old ones that
It is.
got recalled?
It is.
All we should have to do now is make sure that the pinion angle is correct, because there's no change in anything else.
What we do have is off center. There's not really anything we can do about that. We're not lined up with the center of the hole on that.
Well, that's just too bad. Unless you want to pull it back out and cut an inch off of that side and add it to this side.
No, I don't.
I think that's just about right. Okay, I'm gonna tack it.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep. Right now,
What?
we are officially four-linked.
Yay, we're four-linked. Just don't try to move it or it'll break apart. All right, this frame rail twisted out that way a little bit previously while I was welding things, so we're gonna put this ratchet strap on here and try to move that in. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. That closed up this gap right here. And now this thing should be fairly square again. Oh yeah, it looks a lot better. Man, look at that. That is cool.
You know, there's nothing better than using Toyota frame parts for... They're known for how strong their frames are and that they never rust out.
Heck yeah. We got Toyota parts, Dodge parts, Jag parts, all the parts, Chevy parts. We don't have any Jeep parts.
We don't have any Jeep parts.
BleepinJeep has no Jeep parts.
There we go.
All right, now it's got a Jeep part on there. All right, let's see if the tacks hold when I pull this. Oh yeah. So whenever I do ratchet strap, when there's extra left over, I do what's called a trucker donut, and Josh says that he can't figure out how to loosen them, which it is kind of tricky to get them unraveled. But basically a trucker donut, if you've got extra strap like that, you go through the hole, pull you a little loop, and then you go through that hole and then pull that tight. And then that can just dangle on your trailer and it's never gonna get under the wheel or whatever. To loosen it, you have to do magic. You basically have to pull it apart opposite of the way that you put it back together. It's that easy, John.
It's that easy.
That easy. There's so many more things that we could do, but we're gonna wait until tomorrow. We'll see you in a second.